So, in reviewing the film for this week, it really made me think, do I have any unhealthy, codependent kind of relationships in my life? And after careful reflection, I don't. And you know what? I can't really ever imagine, loving someone so much that you have to tie them up and whatnot, in order to keep them with you. Yeah. All right, you ready to go for your walk, Watson? Hey, that's not the same thing. Run is actually a very good thriller, starring Sarah Paulson as Diane Sherman and Keira Allen as daughter Chloe Sherman. It kind of has that feeling of an old fashioned Alfred Hitchcock kind of thriller. There's not really all that much to the plot, there aren't that many characters, and there certainly aren't that many action sequences. That's my action sequence. Now, I do have some plot work to do here, so if you'd rather watch the film first, and not have it spoiled for you, go ahead and skip ahead to the breakdown section of this video. Run is essentially about the relationship between a mother and daughter, Diane and Chloe. Diane micromanages everything that goes on in Chloe's life, and at the beginning of the film, this certainly seems like the actions of a loving mother. We learn that in addition to not having the use of her legs, Chloe has a host of other problems. Things like, really bad diabetes, bad asthma. You have to manage her skin. She has sort of these rashes all over her body as well. It's a lot to take care of. So again, you sort of think, good job, Diane, taking care of your child. So the two appear to have a really nice relationship. Chloe is currently waiting to hear from, the many colleges that she put in applications for. The one that she really wants to get into is University of Washington. Why? I don't know. But one would think it would be because she couldn't get into Berkeley. I have to be really careful here because I have relatives with some connections to University of Washington, so go UW. It's actually a really nice school. So everything's great until Chloe goes digging into a grocery bag to try to find some chocolates that she can stash. Instead, she finds a bottle of pills from the pharmacy. Now, this by itself is not all that unusual because Chloe has to take a whole host of medicines for herself daily. But the thing that makes this one a little bit weird is that it's Diane's name that's on the label and not Chloe's. These new mysterious pills end up finding their way into Chloe's hands, actually, which makes this even all the more mysterious, right? So why is Chloe taking these pills? So for a large part of the film, Chloe is painstakingly trying to figure out, what are these pills, what do they do, and why is her mother sort of giving her these new pills without actually talking about what they do? So Chloe finally sneaks into her local pharmacy where she confronts the clerk and asks, so what's the deal with these pills? At first, the clerk is like, nah, I can't tell you because, all that privacy stuff. But then the clerk is like, oh, I can tell you because actually these pills are for your dog. You see, all of this explains why Mr. Clover's chickens have gone missing the past few weeks. Every night at the stroke of midnight, Chloe turns into a werewolf. No, she doesn't. Come on. Like I told you, this is like an old Alfred Hitchcock thriller. You're not going to get these big sort of plot movements like we're used to. Come on. So once Chloe finds out that the medicine is for dogs, she kind of hyperventilates herself into almost a mini coma. They take her to the hospital where she gets help, and then they bring her back home. So the jig is up, right? Chloe now knows. And Diane knows that Chloe knows. And we know that Diane knows that Chloe knows. But what I don't know is, why does the pharmacist not do anything when the poor young lady passes out on her floor? Nice job. Chloe finally figures out, I think something's wrong. I better try to get out of here or get some help. But that's not going to work for Diane. No. So Diane starts locking Chloe up, rather conspicuously, in rooms that contain delicate information about the plot. Okay, so last warning, major spoiler alert. Chloe learns that she's not actually Diane's daughter. You see, when Diane had a child when she was younger, that child actually passed away. And not having sort of the means of trying to deal with it in terms of her mental health, she actually stole Chloe as a child. But that's not the only thing. Diane has been slowly poisoning Chloe throughout her entire existence in order to keep her sort of subservient to Diane, right? To keep her there with her. In fact, Chloe even finds a picture of herself as a young child walking. So there are a bunch of struggles that happen, and you end up with this really great sort of final act of tension between Chloe trying to get away and Diane trying to keep her. Someone gets shot. Diane has to take Chloe to the hospital because of a gutsy bluff that Chloe does by drinking poison. And then, a bunch of other stuff happens here at the end, which I won't spoil. However, I will say one part of the ending. A government agency steps in and takes Chloe, and they replace her bones with adamantium, and she ends up with really cool Wolverine claws. Okay, if I edited this correctly, you should see really cool Wolverine claws coming out. Did I do it? So Run is actually quite a good movie in that old-fashioned, Hitchcockian thriller sense. So what does that mean for you? Well, you need to be patient with these films. They aren't about what happens as much as they are about the reactions of the people in the cast, or even our reactions in trying to figure out the motives behind why people act a certain way. You're supposed to have enough time in between, events in the plot to think, to engage these films. And they're as much about gauging our own psychology as they are those of the, characters in the movies. For example, do we like what Diane does? No. But do we understand at least how she got to that point? Well, yeah. You see, there's a lot to be said here for aftercare of women in childbirth, right? Millions of women actually come away after childbirth still with postpartum depression, and that's not something that you can just walk off like a sprained ankle in a basketball game or just get over it like it's, a cold or something. Sarah Paulson and Keira Allen do a fantastic job in this, and they have a great chemistry for this genre of film. But I will say that I think Keira Allen is probably the star of the show here, right? And kudos to director Anish Shiganti for taking a chance on a young actor like Keira Allen, because Keira actually does require a wheelchair in her daily sort of life. So the struggles that we see in the film, not only are they quite authentic, but they come across authentic in the film, meaning that we can make a better connection with Chloe's sort of struggles, that kind of claustrophobic nature of the film, right? That little by little, more and more of her agency gets taken away from things like disabling the elevator on the stairs. So what's our silver lining lesson for this film? Well, it's not that difficult for us as human beings to actually create dangerously codependent relationships because they offer us two of the most important aspects of the human experience. One is companionship, and the other is purpose. Companionship is one of the more likely reasons that we've become such a successful species on Earth, actually. Many evolutionary biologists and anthropologists have written, books on the idea that it's because of our cooperation and our sort of yearning to be together that we were able to hunt, larger game and able to create sort of greater movements in terms of agriculture. And purpose is essentially what drives us in life. I think many of us sort of dream of hitting the lotto and sort of having enough money that you can just do nothing. But in truth, if you do talk to people who are well off in terms of money, they'll tell you that they will absolutely go crazy if they can't get up in the morning and have some place to be, something to do, and not something that's just leisure. It has to be something that will give them enough purpose to feel like their existence is needed in the world. Let's see if I can purchase a little bit of purpose in my life. Nothing. I didn't win anything. But you know what? At least I still have my purpose and hope and companionship.